Hey viewers, welcome to African Tales by Afi. Please kindly click the subscribe button to get notified for more amazing stories. In the heart of the village of A, where the rivers glistened under the golden sun and the air carried the scent of ripe mangoes, lived a princess like no other, Yugofuma. She was not only known for her breathtaking beauty but also for the kindness that flowed from her heart like a never-ending stream. The villagers adored her, the young girls envied her, and the young men dreamed of winning her hand in marriage. But in the midst of all the admiration and love Yugofuma received, there was one person who struggled with an unspoken jealousy, her best friend, Amber. Amber and Yugofuma had been inseparable since childhood. They played under the big baobab tree, shared meals, and whispered secrets by the river. But as they grew older, something changed. The more attention Yugofuma received, the more Amber felt invisible. One evening, as they sat by the riverbank, Amber sighed deeply, breaking the silence. "Yugofuma, do you ever get tired of people always looking at you?" she asked, throwing a small pebble into the water. Yugofuma chuckled, unaware of the hidden meaning in Amber's words. "Why would I get tired? It's a blessing to be loved." Amber forced a smile. "I suppose it is." Just then, a voice interrupted their conversation. It was Ayuka, a wealthy trader's son, dressed in fine robes and carrying a confident grin. "Princess Yugofuma," he said with a deep bow, "I have waited long to ask for your hand in marriage." Yugofuma blinked in surprise. "Marriage?" "Yes. My father says a man of my stature must marry the best, and who better than the most beautiful and kind-hearted princess in all of A?" Ayuka said proudly. Amber's jaw tightened. Once again, Yugofuma was chosen while she remained unnoticed. But before Yugofuma could respond, a loud voice interrupted them. "She's a thief!" The villagers turned to see a woman named Bizi storming towards them, her eyes blazing with fury. "Ayuka, you promised to marry me. And now you're here proposing to Yugofuma? You have betrayed me," Bizi accused, pointing a trembling finger at Yugofuma. Yugofuma gasped. I didn't know." "Ayuka, is this true?" Ayuka looked uncomfortable. "Bizi, our parents discussed our marriage, but I never agreed to it. It was never a promise." But Bizi would not listen. "You knew, and yet you allowed her to steal you away from me," she cried. Yugofuma, feeling ashamed and heartbroken, stepped back. "I will not be the reason for someone's pain. I cannot accept your proposal, Ayuka." Amber, secretly pleased by the chaos, remained silent, watching as Ayuka tried to protest. But Yugofuma had made up her mind and walked away, leaving Ayuka and Bizi to sort out their problems. That night, Yugofuma sat alone in her chamber, staring at the moonlit sky. "Was it wrong of me to reject Ayuka?" she whispered to herself. Just then, a gentle knock came on her door. It was Amber. "Yugofuma," Amber said softly, "you did the right thing. But you must be careful. Your beauty makes people jealous, and not everyone will be kind." Yugofuma smiled, grateful for her friend's words. "Thank you, Amber. I am lucky to have you." Amber smiled back, but deep inside, her heart was still filled with envy. She had always stood in Yugofuma's shadow, and she was growing tired of it. Little did Yugofuma know that this moment marked the beginning of a journey filled with love, betrayal, and a lesson she would never forget. Days passed, and the scandal with Euka faded from the villagers' lips. Yugofuma continued to live her life as the cherished princess of A, unaware of the jealousy that festered within her best friend, Amber. One afternoon, a royal messenger arrived at the palace gates, dressed in the finest robes of the neighboring kingdom. He bowed deeply before the king and queen and presented a golden scroll. From His Royal Highness, Prince Seba, the messenger announced a formal invitation to a grand banquet in his palace. The news caused an uproar of excitement throughout the kingdom. Prince Seba was one of the most powerful and eligible men in the land. His wealth was unmatched, his charm undeniable, and his reputation untarnished. The villagers whispered among themselves, speculating that this was no ordinary invitation. That evening, as Yugofuma and Amber sat together in the palace gardens, Amber nudged her friend playfully. "Do you realize what this means, Yugofuma?" Amber grinned. "Prince Seba must have heard of your beauty and kindness. He is interested in you." Yugofuma laughed, shaking her head. "Oh, Amber, not everything is about marriage. Perhaps he simply wishes to host an event for all the noble families." Amber smirked. "We shall see." The day of the banquet arrived, and Yugofuma was dressed in an elegant silk gown, embroidered with golden patterns that shimmered in the candlelight. Amber stood beside her in a beautiful blue dress, but even in her finest clothes, she felt overshadowed. The palace of Prince Seba was grand, filled with nobles from many lands. The feast was abundant, the music enchanting, and Yugofuma felt at ease as she conversed with the guests. Prince Seba soon arrived, and as expected, he was as handsome as the stories described. His deep voice carried authority, and when he laid eyes on Yugofuma, he smiled with clear admiration. "You must be Princess Yugofuma," he said, bowing slightly. Yugofuma curtsied. "It is an honor to meet you, Your Highness." He extended his hand. "Would you join me at my table?" Amber's fingers clenched into fists, but she forced a smile. "Of course, she would love to," she answered for Yugofuma. Throughout the night, Prince Seba engaged Yugofuma in deep conversation. He was intelligent and kind, and soon, they were laughing like old friends. But just as the evening reached its peak, disaster struck. As Yugofuma lifted a goblet of wine to her lips, an unexpected and loud pffftt echoed through the silent hall. The entire room froze. Yugofuma's eyes widened in horror. She had farted. Loudly. Some guests burst into laughter. Others covered their noses. Amber's face twisted into faint concern, but inside, she was gleeful. Prince Seba's face darkened. "Princess, what was that?" Yugofuma's cheeks burned with shame. I am so sorry. It was an accident." The prince, trying to maintain his composure, waved a hand. "Let us continue the feast." Yugofuma tried to regain her confidence, but just as she reached for a piece of roasted chicken, another loud pffftt escaped. The laughter that followed was deafening. Prince Seba stood abruptly, his face red with embarrassment. "This is unacceptable," he shouted. "How can a princess behave in such a disgraceful manner?" Tears welled in Yugofuma's eyes. "I swear, I do not know why this is happening," she whispered. But the prince was too angry to listen. "I cannot be seen with someone who behaves this way. Our relationship is over before it even begins." Yugofuma felt as though the walls were closing in on her. The whispers, the laughter, the disgusted faces, everything felt like a nightmare. Amber, hiding her satisfaction, placed a hand on Yugofuma's shoulder. "Let's go, my dear friend. You don't deserve this humiliation." Yugofuma followed her out, but deep inside, a strange feeling of dread crept over her. Something was wrong. This was not normal. As the two walked back to the palace, Amber bit her lip to suppress her smile. Her plan had worked. Yugofuma barely spoke the entire journey back to the palace. The shame from the banquet clung to her like a heavy cloak, and every time she recalled the laughter of the guests, her heart ached. Amber, walking beside her, kept up a show of sympathy. "I don't understand what happened, Yugofuma," she said, shaking her head. "You've never had such a problem before. Maybe it was the food?" Yugofuma frowned. "I don't think so. I only ate the same dishes as everyone else." Amber sighed dramatically. "Maybe it's just bad luck, my dear friend. These things happen." But Yugofuma wasn't convinced. Something felt wrong. Days passed, and just as she hoped the incident would fade from the villagers' memory, the unthinkable happened again. One morning, while she was out walking in the market, a group of traders greeted her. "Princess Yugofuma, you are looking radiant today," said an elderly merchant. Just as she opened her mouth to thank him, a loud and foul-smelling pffftt escaped. The merchant recoiled. Others covered their noses. Yugofuma gasped, mortified. I am so sorry." People whispered amongst themselves, some giggling, others murmuring in concern. "It's happening again," she muttered, tears stinging her eyes. Amber, standing beside her, feigned surprise. "Oh, dear. It must be an illness. Maybe you should rest at home." Yugofuma felt her stomach twist. Something was terribly wrong. That night, she visited her mother, the queen, and told her everything. "My child," the queen said, stroking her hair, "perhaps you should see the palace healer." The healer examined her and found nothing unusual. "I have never heard of such a condition, princess," he admitted. "Perhaps this is not a sickness of the body, but of the spirit." Yugofuma's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" The healer hesitated. "You may be under a curse." A chill ran down Yugofuma's spine. "But who would do such a thing to me?" she whispered. Before the healer could answer, a familiar voice spoke from the doorway. "I might know someone who can help," said a deep, calm voice. Yugofuma turned to see MMA, a kind-hearted man she had met before. He had always been a friend, offering support when she needed it most. "MMA," she gasped. "You think this is a curse?" MMA nodded. "I do. And I know someone who can help, my grandmother. She is a seer." Yugofuma hesitated. "A seer?" "Yes. She has wisdom beyond our years. If there is magic involved, she will know." The queen nodded. "Go, my child. If this is the work of dark forces, we must find a way to undo it." The seer's revelation. The next day, MMA led Yugofuma deep into the forest to his grandmother's hut. Smoke curled from the roof, and the scent of herbs filled the air. An elderly woman, wrapped in a colorful shawl, sat by the fire, her eyes bright with wisdom. "Ah, you have finally come," she said before Yugofuma could even speak. Yugofuma's eyes widened. You were expecting me?" The old woman nodded. "Your troubles have reached my ears, child. Sit." Yugofuma obeyed, her heart pounding. The seer closed her eyes and hummed, swaying gently. Then, after a moment of silence, she opened them. "There is an enemy within," she whispered. Yugofuma frowned. "What do you mean?" The seer sighed. "The person who has done this to you is not a stranger. It is someone close. Someone you trust." Yugofuma's blood ran cold. "No, that can't be true." MMA clenched his fists. "Who would do such a thing?" The seer reached for a bowl of water and murmured an incantation. Slowly, an image formed on the water's surface. Yugofuma gasped. There, staring back at her, was Amber. Yugofuma's world crumbled. "No, it can't be. She is my best friend." The seer's eyes softened. "Jealousy can turn even the kindest hearts bitter. She sought to curse you, to humiliate you, and drive all suitors away." Tears welled in Yugofuma's eyes. "But why?" "Because she has always been in your shadow," the seer said gently. "She wants what you have. And she was willing to use dark magic to take it from you." MMA clenched his jaw. "We must stop her." The seer nodded. "There is only one way to break the curse. You must bathe in the sacred river at dawn and offer a prayer of cleansing. Only then will the spell be undone." Yugofuma wiped her tears and stood tall. "I will do it." But deep inside, her heart ached. Amber, her own best friend, had betrayed her, and she would soon have to confront her. Yugofuma barely slept that night. The revelation that Amber, her closest friend, had betrayed her filled her heart with sorrow and anger. How could she? They had grown up together, shared secrets, and laughed under the moonlight. Now, she was the reason Yugofuma had become the laughingstock of the village. At dawn, MMA accompanied her to the sacred river. The early morning air was crisp, and the water shimmered under the golden sunlight. The seer had instructed her to bathe in the river and chant words of cleansing. Yugofuma waded into the cool water, her heart pounding. She closed her eyes and whispered the words given to her. Spirits of the river, wash away this curse. Let truth prevail, and let my enemies be revealed. As soon as she spoke, a gust of wind howled through the trees, and the river rippled violently. A sharp pain surged through her stomach, and for a moment, she feared the curse was worsening. But then, just as quickly as the pain came, it vanished. The water around her glowed faintly before settling into its usual calm. MMA watched from the riverbank, his fists clenched. Did it work? Yugofuma stepped out of the river, feeling different. Lighter. She took a deep breath, waiting. Nothing happened. No embarrassing sounds, no foul smells. She let out a small laugh of relief. I think I'm free. MMA grinned. Then it's time to confront Amber. The confrontation. Later that evening, Yugofuma returned to the palace. The banquet hall was filled with nobles and villagers, celebrating the upcoming wedding of Amber and her fiancé. Yugofuma clenched her fists. This was the perfect moment. She walked into the hall with MMA by her side. Heads turned, whispers spread. After weeks of humiliation, people expected her to flee at the first sign of trouble. But not today. Amber spotted her and hurried over, fake concern plastered across her face. Yugofuma, you shouldn't be here. I heard you were still unwell. Yugofuma held her gaze. Amber, she said, her voice calm but firm. I know what you did. Amber blinked. What are you talking about? The curse, Yugofuma said, stepping closer. The seer showed me the truth. You did this to me. You sought the help of a native doctor to humiliate me. Gasps echoed through the hall. Amber's face paled. That's ridiculous, she shrieked. Why would I ever do such a thing? MMA crossed his arms. Because you've always been jealous of Yugofuma. You hated how she got all the attention while you were ignored. Amber's eyes darted around the room. People were murmuring, their gazes shifting from her to Yugofuma. Lies. Amber spat. This is all a trick. Yugofuma's voice rose. Then why did the curse break when I performed the cleansing ritual? Why did the seer's vision show your face? Amber opened her mouth, but no words came. Just then, a deep voice cut through the tension. Amber, is this true? It was Amber's fiancé. He stepped forward, his face twisted in disbelief. Amber turned to him, panic flashing in her eyes. I don't know what she's talking about. You believe me, don't you? But the doubt in his eyes was clear. Yugofuma took a step closer. If you are innocent, swear it upon your mother's life. Amber flinched. Everyone knew she adored her mother. The room fell silent. Amber trembled, her lips parted, but no words came. Her silence was her confession. The hall erupted into chaos. You wicked girl, a woman shouted. "How could you do this to your own friend?" Amber's fiancé shook his head. "I will not marry a woman with such a heart." He turned and walked away. Amber reached for him. "Wait! Please, He didn't stop. Amber's face crumpled as her world shattered around her. Yugofuma took a deep breath. "You were my best friend, Amber. I would have given you anything. But you let jealousy destroy us." The king's voice boomed through the hall. "Amber, you have disgraced this palace and betrayed my daughter. You are no longer welcome here. Leave and never return." Tears streamed down Amber's face as she looked at Yugofuma one last time. "Please." But Yugofuma simply turned away. Amber let out a broken sob before fleeing from the hall. Yugofuma closed her eyes, exhaling. It was over. MMA placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You are free now, princess." She smiled faintly. "Yes. But this is just the beginning." As the celebration continued, Yugofuma realized something important. This ordeal had not only freed her from a curse, but had also shown her the power of resilience. And now, she was ready to embrace the future. The night after Amber's banishment, the village of A was abuzz with whispers. Some pitied Amber, while others believed she got what she deserved. But for Yugofuma, it was a bittersweet victory. She had lost a friend, but she had also reclaimed her dignity and peace. As she sat on the palace balcony, gazing at the stars, MMA joined her. "You look deep in thought," he said, sitting beside her. Yugofuma sighed. "I should feel relieved, but I just feel empty." MMA nodded. "It's not easy losing someone you once cared about, even if they betrayed you." She turned to him. "Do you think I did the right thing?" MMA gave a small smile. "You stood up for yourself. You uncovered the truth. You freed yourself from a curse that wasn't yours to bear. That was the right thing." Yugofuma took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right. I need to focus on the future now." The king's announcement. The next morning, the king gathered the villagers at the palace square. He stood tall and proud, his deep voice carrying through the crowd. "My daughter has suffered greatly at the hands of jealousy and deceit," he began. "Yet she has shown strength, wisdom, and courage. It is time we honor her resilience." The villagers cheered, chanting Yugofuma's name. She felt warmth spread through her heart. The king continued, "It is also time for a new beginning. A suitor worthy of her hand must step forward." Yugofuma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this. MMA looked at her with a knowing smile. "Well, princess, what do you think?" She blushed. "I think my father is too eager." Just then, Prince Zeba stepped forward from the crowd. His face was filled with regret. "Your Highness," he said, bowing before Yugofuma. "I was a fool. I let embarrassment cloud my judgment. You deserve someone who will stand by you through anything. If you can find it in your heart to forgive me, I wish to prove myself worthy of you." The crowd murmured in surprise. Eugofuma looked at him, remembering the pain of his rejection. She had cared for him once, but now, something had changed. Before she could speak, MMA stepped forward. "Prince Seba, you had your chance. But you chose pride over love. Eugofuma deserves someone who saw her worth even when she was at her lowest." Eugofuma's breath hitched. MMA turned to her and gently took her hand. "I am not a prince," he said, "but I will honor and cherish you. Not because of your beauty or status, but because of your heart. If you'll have me, I promise to stand by your side, always." The crowd fell silent, waiting for her response. Eugofuma looked between the two men. She thought of everything MMA had done, how he had believed in her when no one else had, how he had guided her through her pain. The answer was clear. She smiled warmly and squeezed his hand. "MMA, you have always been there for me. My heart chooses you." The crowd erupted into cheers. The king, seeing the love in his daughter's eyes, nodded approvingly. Happily ever after. Weeks later, the palace was decorated for a grand wedding. Villagers gathered from far and wide to witness the union of Princess Eugofuma and MMA. The joy in the air was contagious, and even the king and queen danced in celebration. As Eugofuma stood before the altar, she took one last glance at the life she was leaving behind. She had learned that true beauty wasn't just in appearance, but in kindness, strength, and resilience. She had lost a friend, but she had gained wisdom. She had faced humiliation, but she had risen above it. And now, she was starting a new chapter, with a man who truly loved her. As MMA placed the wedding beads around her neck, he whispered, "No matter what comes, I will always stand by you." Eugofuma smiled. "And I by you." With that, the ceremony was sealed, and the entire village rejoiced. And so, Princess Eugofuma found not only love, but peace, proving that true happiness comes not from what we look like, but from the hearts that love us for who we truly are. The end. Hello tribe, hope we enjoyed today's story. Please kindly put what you've learned in the comments section. Please remember to hit the like button, share this to your friends and family, as well as subscribe to see you on the